connection. I know you mentioned that a little bit. And I just, for those who may not be, not, familiar about it, I just want you to, confirm, does a strong connection exist between the Bahamas and the US, particularly as it pertains to Bahamian roots and the contributions in American society?
Well, I heard that you're speaking to someone from Massachusetts, and Massachusetts and New England is directly connected to the island of Eleuthera. Because in 1647, when the early settlers came in from Bermuda to Eleuthera, they ran into some difficulties with food. And Captain William Sale, who brought the early settlers from Bermuda to the Bahamas, got in a boat and he went into Massachusetts to get food from the persons up there. And they gave him enough food to last for a little while. That's in Massachusetts now. Massachusetts, they sailed from Eleuthera to Massachusetts. It was affecting us.
What can we do to educate ourselves? How can we educate ourselves as it pertains to the topic and the debate around marital rape in the Bahamas?
Read, do some research, listen to people who are talking about it. And, like I said, there are a lot of people who are talking a lot of nonsense, but it's important to listen to what they're saying too. It's really important to understand.
And so, as I've touched on, I suffered domestic violence at the age of 21. And my then husband was a riot squad policeman going through apartheid. And I'm going to give him compassion today. What I've learned over the last few years is we do the best with what we can. It's all we have. And if somebody like that goes through trauma and holds people in their arms that have just been shot and killed, and then comes home to a wife or a young family, and you're the only outlet, I don't know if there's any other way that things could turn out. But what I will say to you is, we've got choice.
You offer to an aspiring Bahamian artist who desires, or any artist who desires to have their art featured on the local and global stage?
Follow your intentions. Make sure it's true and authentic to yourself. Don't try to be like nobody else. You are authentic, and write your own path. If you feel it and it's in your mind, if you can't sleep about it, do it. Like, don't think twice about it. Just do it.
Good to feature and highlight Bahamian-owned businesses this Christmas, and also feature Bahamian musical artists. Our guest today will include Tamara Linnell. She's our first guest. And she is here to present and talk about her business. So we'll start with her. And we also have our musical artist, Nishi LS, on the platform with us today. So we're so excited to get started. So
manage that as well. So primarily, I think we're known for anything to do with the prostate, and for men, obviously, we're the go-to when it comes to erectile dysfunction, which is a major issue for a lot of men. And it's a taboo topic, unfortunately, that causes a lot of men to suffer in silence and needlessly for many years.
Thank you, Dr. Pinto. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I learned a little bit today, because in my mind, I was just thinking about the male side. I didn't know that you touch also a little bit on the women's side as well. So
a lot. So
yeah,
everything to do with the
erectile
system of women, yes, we deal with it.
Thank you for sharing that, and also sharing that for a lot of men, they suffer in silence, I guess.
A lot of men.
Yeah, it's not something that you want to talk about when it as it pertains to erectile dysfunction. But we're going to talk a little bit about that. But I want to ask you about the importance of highlighting men's health.
Rely on fuel mean that the rising cost of fuel drove the cost of these things higher. And so we then see the effects and the ripple effects of the Russia-Ukraine conflict affecting all of our imported goods, including fuel and food. So we've had a few causes of the inflation, And I just try to outline the most important ones. So all of these, and the takeaway from this is, this has nothing to do with our domestic policy. This has nothing to do with what's happening in the Bahamas economy, the Bahamas government, the Bahamas Central Bank, or any country in the Caribbean and what we've done in terms of our domestic policy. This is all imported inflation.
Private practice, and I set up CADRIS, which is the only Caribbean research organization that is exclusively focused on political research. And that's what we do. So we've polled up and down the Caribbean. In addition to political polling, which is, one could say, our bread and butter, we also do some other interesting stuff. So we've polled Caribbean opinion on Republic. We've polled opinion on, we've dealt with issues like domestic violence, corporal punishment, so we've been able to engage in some pretty interesting stuff. The most recent thing we did was vaccine hesitancy. And I did some fairly exciting work and seminal work looking at reasons why people do and don't vaccinate and what you can do to get people vaccinated. So the politics is the mainstay, but certainly we get to do a lot of other stuff. I always say that I'm fortunate in that I get to listen to Caribbean people in all of the islands, all the countries. I've been listening from all the way in the north, in Bahamas, Bermuda, all the way to the south, in Suriname and Guyana. And I've listened to Caribbean people speak to particular issues. And it's been an exciting time for me to do this type of work and the data collection.